The following program is the work of broadcast students from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland over the past week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their BCIT instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, cannabis culture editor Jody Emery deals with her husband Mark's 5-year prison sentence.
We'll see how construction will impact one of BC's most dangerous intersections.
And these brave people went to new heights to raise money for charity. Good afternoon and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Ben Miljure.
And I'm Corrin Skalbeck.
We start today's show with breaking news this morning on BC's new impaired driving regulations. Provincial Public Safety Minister Mike de Jong spoke at a press conference this morning about harsher driving regulations that are set to take effect on Monday. The new rules will penalize excessive speeders and impaired drivers with hefty tickets and new impound rules.
They insist upon drinking and driving before they go out. They are going to lose their license. They are going to lose their vehicle. And they are going to lose a whole lot of their money.
British Columbians should prepare for the new rules to take effect next week. The Willingdon interchange has seen more accidents than any other intersection in BC over the past 5 years. Ragnar Haagan went to find out why that is and what's being done about it.
ICBC has released data that shows there have been 2,200 accidents over the past 5 years at the Willingdon interchange just over my shoulder. Although now construction is underway, that should help alleviate some of the problems.
Since the highway was built in the 1960s, we've seen a significant amount of growth, particularly, along the entire corridor, but in particular at the Willingdon interchange. And in fact, that area is one of the busiest sections on the Highway 1 corridor today. For traffic that's heading from the highway to Willingdon southbound and then Canada Way eastbound. Right now, there's a very, very short merging distance if you're coming off Highway 1 and trying to get into that Canada Way left turn lane.
Another problem with the current situation are for vehicles turning eastbound onto Highway 1.
This change where we're going to be adding that new signal light and having traffic come underneath the highway to access this new signal light is expected to take place in the spring to summer of 2011.
Planning for the project began back in 2003 as part of the Port Mann Highway 1 Improvement Project. Ryan assured me that the project is on time and will come in on budget. Ragnar Haagan in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Vancouver's Prince of Pot, Mark Emery, has been sentenced to 5 years in an American jail. My co-host Ben Miljure found out how his wife and business partner is dealing with his incarceration.
At first glance, it appears to be business as usual at the cannabis culture headquarters. But something, or more specifically, someone, is missing. Last week, Canadian marijuana activist Mark Emery was sentenced to 5 years in a U.S. jail.
Knowing Mark is there hurts me just thinking about it. He's the last person I would ever want to see or think about being in jail, but we're going to try as hard as we can to get him out sooner and get him back to Canadian jail.
Mark's wife, Jody Emery, is also hopeful that he can finish his sentence in Canada.
Canadian prisoners abroad have a charter right to be returned to their country, but that does have to go through the process with the treaty agreement. We know that there's no love lost between the Conservatives and my husband, but we hope that they will follow through with what they are obligated to do with the treaty transfer. So it could happen next year, early spring or summer, but we need U.S. approval first, and so far it doesn't seem like they'll object at all. It's the Canadian government we're concerned about. Well, yeah, Mark and I spend every day together, every hour basically of every day. He would sit here and I would sit there on that desk, and we would come to work together and make dinner together, and every moment was at each other's sides. So it is very challenging and somewhat lonely to not have him here, but I'm surrounded by all of our friends and supporters, so that helps me get through it.
Mark Emery has long been a martyr for cannabis culture on both sides of the border. But here in Canada, the Conservative government has taken a hardline stance against the marijuana movement. In light of that, it will be very interesting to see how quickly Public Safety Minister Vic Taves responds to Emery's request to be returned to Canada to finish his sentence. Ben Miljure in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Shahid Devji has been following this story, and he now joins us live in studio. Shahid, what more can you tell us about Mark Emery's request to serve his sentence in Canada?
Well, Corrin, the decision lies in the hands of Canada's Public Safety Minister Vic Taves. Now, if Taves grants Emery his request, the so-called Prince of Pot could be back in Canada by next spring or next summer. And if that does happen, then Taves could be on day parole by that time. If it doesn't happen, he'll have to stay in the United States within the four walls of his prison cell until 2014. Corrin?
Do Emery's supporters have any protest or rallies planned to bring attention to his transfer application?
Well, we've seen and heard from them many times before. Mark Emery has a lot of supporters. And so in 80 countries across the world this Saturday, rallies will be held for Mark's cause. The event here in Vancouver will take place downtown at the Vancouver Art Gallery, and it's set to begin at 2 p.m.
People that raised a minimum of $1,500 for Easter Seals Drop Zone charity event got a chance to rappel off a 20-story building in the downtown core. Reporter Casey Snow was on hand to capture the experience.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Nope, it's Easter Seals' annual Drop Zone charity event with participants rappelling down a 20-story building who have raised money for BC children with disabilities. But before they take the plunge, some training is required.
So they participate in one training session at Cliffhanger. They spend about 2 hours learning about the equipment, getting a practice time going down the wall. And then when they get here, usually a week or two later, they'll go through the same thing again. We'll get them harnessed up, and then after that they get to try it on this smaller wall here, just as one last refresher before they go up, and then that's it. They go up to the top and then they wrap down.
Participants have 20 floors to give them time to reflect on what will happen once they reach the top. For a challenge that started in the lunchroom between Debbie Morrow and Sherry Gersney, they ended up taking this one to the top and right back down again.
I don't think I had anything in my head. I couldn't look anywhere. I just had to look at this rope all the way down.
I kept having to remember every so often, stop looking at the rope and pay attention to the reflection in the mirror with the mountains and the water behind.
Over the past 5 years, Easter Seals Drop Zone has raised an impressive $974,000 for BC children with disabilities. So whether you're a cowardly lion or a Nintendo superhero, everyone can take the plunge, and it's for a good cause. Casey Snow in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
One little yellow electric car is taking center stage at the Electric Vehicles Conference and Trade Show in Vancouver this week. My co-host, Corrin Skalbeck, was there to see it in action.
Canada's largest exhibition of electric vehicles were on display this week in Vancouver. Canadian designer and engineer Steve Dallas is charging ahead with his little yellow electric car.
Well, this car right here was designed, the design started 6 years ago. I've been working on this particular product for 6 years. I designed it around me, so that's why some of the features, it fits me quite nicely, right?
Using a personalized ID tag to enter the car, Dallas lets me ride shotgun and explains the car's most important feature.
The most important safety feature about this car is you can't get to the battery.
Oh.
There's enough power in this car to feed to operate your house for a day.
This Canadian-made little yellow car is truly one of a kind. You can program and customize it as much or as little as you want. If you're a parent and you only want your child driving a maximum of 60 kilometers an hour, this car can be the chaperone when you're not there. With the recent addition of the new public charging stations, electric cars like this will become more and more mainstream.
The rapid charging station is currently spending 30 days in the Olympic Village. It's there waiting while Science World is under construction. It will be in Science World as a permanent feature, and it's really to let the public know about environmental issues or just support for EV, just bringing the public awareness to everybody.
Corrin Skalbeck in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
So Corrin, are we going to see you driving a little yellow car like that in the near future?
Well, it is a cute car, but red's more my color.
It certainly is. Well, maybe if you wait until next year, you won't have to pay the HST. That's if the majority of voters are against the tax. The BC Liberal government has 1 year to show British Columbians that the HST is good for them before the referendum. In the meantime, Bill Vander Zalm is gearing up for the recall battle he wants to begin, challenging Liberal MLAs as soon as November 15th.
Coming up after the break, Canucks goalie Roberto Luongo steps down as captain.
And Mike Harcourt welcomed delegates to the World Clean Air Congress.
And we explore an alternative to full-day public school kindergarten.